Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the 2024 debate. I've already played my intro music. I've already asked for a sound check. Put a one in the chat if you can hear me, but I had not pressed the live button. Oh, it's not going to be more of the same effery from this morning. Trust and believe. Hello, Bobby. Can you guys hear me? Put a one in the chat. Okay, now I know you can hear me. Thank you guys for being here. Hello, Choreo Lover. Bobby, thank you for being here. I see Lex's name, Lex, Miss Kimmy, Lisa Monet. Thank you guys for being here. Yatanya Jones, Dominique Devereaux. I'm voting for Jesus. Hallelujah. Praise Him. Praise Him in the morning. Praise Him in the evening. Praise Him when the sun goes down. Miss Kimmy. Spicy Dicey, hello. It's good to see you. Okay, I see all of you in the chat. So I'm going to drop my link and I'm going to invite anyone up who wants to say what you expect, what are you looking for in this debate? Is there anything, any answers that you want addressed, any questions that you want addressed? I'm sorry, and in this debate, and what exactly are you looking for in this debate? Okay, so I'm gonna pin the link. Hello, Clyde Broke Again Diva. Hello, Candy Cane, M. Renee. Number one on my likes. Yes, please hit the like button. I would greatly appreciate that. Okay, I pinned the link. And if you want to come up, okay, and Lavender Spirit, there's a presidential debate. Do Jesus. Hello, Carolina Blue. It's good to see you. Hello, Big Beef Sector. Okay, so I have the link pinned. Um, if anybody wants to come up and express what in particular are you looking for? Are you just looking for them to both to stay cognizant throughout the hour and a half debate? What exactly are you looking for? Hey, Key, how are you? Oh, okay. Also, you can also, we're going to do a poll. We're going to have a Hate the Bushes, a drinking game, word, or phrase. Hello, Babs. How are you doing? Welcome and thank you for joining Ronnie Hugh this evening for the live presidential debate. Please feel free to stay for this discussions afterwards. And if there are any commercial breaks, we're going to, I doubt if there be any commercial breaks, but yes, please feel free to stay and discuss. Um, so you don't have to hit the link. You can write in the chat. What exactly do you hope to see in this debate? Okay, I'm looking to see if any candidate is coherent and awake. Yes, shady. Hey, for good and evil. I feel like I'm about to need a drink. Okay, so I need you guys to put in the chat. Hey, Black Pearl, what do you want to vote on for the drinking game word or phrase? I'm going to uh, throw out a couple. Witch hunt, crooked DA. Okay, hey, I have someone who's in the back. Crooked DA. I don't know if he's still using witch hunt. I think the witches have hunted as far as he's concerned. Bap, is that you?
Yep, it's me.
How are you doing, Babs?
I'm good. Um, the biggest thing that I want out of this debate, well, most specifically, is that I want them to make Trump answer specifically about Project 2025. I want them to make him address it directly and his stance
So,
on it. Because
so do you
he'll beat
even
around the bush and say things, but he doesn't actually say outright that he supports Project 2025.
okay? So, can you explain to everyone what Project 2025 entails?
Project 2025 is basically a set of policy actions that the Heritage Foundation is promoting with Republican candidates for the for so you can say president, Senate, the House. that they want enacted within, I think it's like the first 90 days of presidency,
Mm-hmm.
that are like a really regressive set of policies towards people who are LGBTQIA or people who are black or things like that. And so,
Correct.
yeah, I just want them to make him answer directly about it.
Okay, so what is the likelihood that you think that this is Jake Tapper doing this interview? I think that the likelihood of him asking that question is a little low. Personally, unfortunately, I let's keep our hands crossed, our fingers crossed, because a lot of people are not engaged in this election because uh, they are reading the rhetoric instead of reading, the handwriting that's on the wall about things like Project 25 and its regressive policies that they set. They have studied, researched, and plan to set forth on the American people. So that is a very, very good one. I hope he asks that question.
I hope he does. With it being mass media, it's a possibility that he won't. Like you said, we
Yes.
have to have realistic expectations. If it was MSNBC, they definitely would be. Trump isn't setting foot near MSNBC.
Okay. So, what would you like to be a drinking game word or phrase? The American public is one we have. Hey, Bush baby. Uh,
Um, yeah, the American people.
okay, the American people. Okay, people slash public. We'll vote on that. Do you still think that he is living in any gripes, and we'll hear phrases like the crooked DA, because we seem to hear that every time he has any type of appearance where he can utter more than two sentences. We'll
Absolutely.
put that. Okay.
He has a I can't talk persecution complex, and so he'll definitely say something about the witch hunt or the crooked DA or whoever in the world else he feels like is unjustly targeting him.
Okay. I just want to make sure that that was an adequate
Oh, you should do it for
American
Hunter too.
for who?
Hunter.
Hunter. Fake
Yeah.
news. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Fake
All
news is a big
right.
one.
The American people is what I think we will hear more of. Okay, well, we're going to vote. We're going to vote and we're going to let you guys decide. Fake news is really good. Okay. So, is there anything else that you want that you're looking for? You guys are welcome to hit the link. The link is pinned if anyone wants to express anything that they're looking for in particular. If you want to come up and just chit chat and state
From
how important you think this election is going to be, or anything, if you want to have
from Biden
anything to say.
specifically, I think that he needs to address the economy as coherently as he can. And specifically needs to address the issue with the student loan forgiveness and how he's been trying for that and how he's been blocked by different courts at different levels at every turn.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Now, what? Now the Affordable Care Act um, is set to what do you retire or go out of law, and it's going to have to be re-upped this next term. So, do you expect them to say anything regarding re-signing the Affordable Care Act, or just letting it go to the wayside, or informing the people who may not know, who thought that the Affordable Care Act was permanently enacted, that no, it is due to expire in this next term?
I think that Biden will address trying to get it extended. I think Trump will go on some vague mumbo jumbo about some sort of new vague medical plan that the Republicans have been speaking about for the past 10 years, but they never have
Yeah.
any specifics.
Yes, when Trump was in office, he said that they had a fantastic plan that they were going to replace the Affordable
Didn't he
Care
say it
Act
was
with,
beautiful?
and he said that I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said that they would be announcing it in the next 6 weeks, and those 6 weeks never came. They never
Right.
announced any plan at all. So, we still have people walking around the YouTube street without permanent teeth. So, I don't even know if a lot of people are even aware that the Affordable Care Act will be repealed. Some people think that, oh well, I have Medicaid. Well, the Affordable Care Act in many states expanded Medicaid, so that's why you have Medicaid. A lot of
Right.
people don't understand the connections. There may be a lot. If yeah, it's very important. A lot of people, you may be in great peril if you don't choose wisely. And what else, Babs? What else, Babs? Anything else?
You were saying to say how important this particular election is, and for me, it's more. It's beyond these two people. I don't really care for Donald Trump as a human being, but it's beyond him. He'll either have 4 years or he'll not. Right? Joe Biden, I don't really, he's just another person. But it's about the long lasting impact that these presidencies could have, because we're at the precipice of whether or not our democracy is going to be what it is supposed to be, or whether we're going to time travel back to the 60s. And so it's a
Uh,
very important election.
yes, it is. Now, what do you think about the Supreme Court ruling about in Iowa? I think it was Iowa, uh, abortion rights that they pushed back further and further. What do you think about that?
You mean where they allow for the emergency abortions only,
Correct,
basically? Yeah,
correct, and
it's a horrible time to be a woman. I'll say that much. That's all I'll say.
right. They no, I thought they allowed only if the mother's life was in jeopardy,
Yeah,
not
only in emergency
emergency.
situations.
No, 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 no. There's a difference. There could be an emergency situation, but if the mother could still be expected to live, no
You're right.
matter.
That's true.
Yeah. So they decided that only if the mother's life is in jeopardy, not if it's emergency situation. She still must carry, no matter what the outcome of the child because of the emergency situation is. You know what I'm saying? So you still may have to be required to carry a unviable pregnancy
It's
or an
disgusting.
unviable child. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not like I'm like, oh, let's go aboard. No, it's not that. It's just like, who is to make these decisions other than the person and their doctor?
Right. I'm
So,
never going to tell somebody that they need to carry a child. If I were to ever, it like personally for my own entire life, I'm not pro-abortion, but I can only rule over myself. I'm not one to try to tell other women what to do.
exactly. Okay, so let me. Okay, so now, okay, we have a choice. I'm looking. We have a choice of channels we can watch this on. We have, I think PBS. They will probably let me stream it. What do you think? We have who's going to air it live. We have Fox. We have CNN. We have PBS. Uh, I want to stream it live. We have ABC. Uh,
I wouldn't stream from any of the major cable networks. I would probably try PBS, but I don't know how they work as far as copyright. To be honest,
yeah, I wonder about that, and I don't want it to get cut off in the middle of the debate. But PBS, I really want to show the reaction and everything, so that's why I really want to show. Okay, what somebody they got the Associated Press. Well, that's a debate watch party. That's not the debate itself, so to speak. So, if you guys have any suggestions, do you want to watch it via PBS? Do you think that's a viable place to watch it? I'm trying to get some suggestions so we can actually see the candidates.
yeah, I know that other people on YouTube, because that's how I watch the debates. They usually
Hmm.
stream them, but I don't know where they stream it from.
Hmm. Okay. All right. So, Peaches M, I think PBS would be a safer choice. I do as well. Thank you, Peaches M. Choreo Lover, welcome and thank you for joining Ronnie Q this evening for the live presidential debate. And please feel free to stay for discussions afterward. I mostly stay in the rafter. Hey, Yoli B, thank you for stepping back down. Hey, life is good. Let me see any comments that I have missed. Um, Bush Baby, PBS would not flag your channel. Thank you. I appreciate that. So we're going to tune in to PBS for this debate. Um, we have about 8 minutes before the debate. So, anything else?
I don't have anything else to add. I was about to hop in. I
All
don't
right.
stay on the panel too long.
Thank you for coming up. I appreciate you for stepping up. You are one
Thank
of
you for streaming this because it's so important.
yes, it is. Okay, so anyone else want to step up and talk about what you expect or what you hope you see in this upcoming debate or not? We have about 8 minutes before the debate. Okay, I am putting up our poll and I am finding PBS on my computer to watch live Biden and Trump debate. PBS. Okay. Okay, I have PBS up. And as soon as they start the debate, we will be on. Okay. Now, what do you guys hope that they say about immigration? Or do you have any hope about any immigration policies or, the influx of people that they allow into the country and, check them in and tell them to come back for this certain date, and then they ultimately are absorbed into the fabric of America and are working under the table, making work laws be more regressed, ensuring that your children don't have summer jobs, ensuring that, these big corporations can get boundless numbers of people and they don't have to follow workplace laws, rules, have insurance for these people, workers' comp insurance or anything like that, and just gain maximum profits by using undocumented workers. And what do you guys think about that, or do you think about that? Should I say? Hey, a viewer's review. My undergraduate degree was in history and political science, so I love this history in the making. As long as you make content of it, PBS won't flag. Thank you for that information. I have PBS all set up and ready to go. This is not part of my YouTube character. Hey, AKD, choreo lover, always love and positively. Thank you. Hello, Journey. Um, the hood is the hood scriptures or the hood table? The hood table says no. I'm just kidding. The hood scripture says they should worry about taking care of Americans first. Now you do know that allegedly that's what uh 45 always says America's first, but I think it's just America's first when it's his rich friends. But that is one of the slogans they put out. Build a wall, which they never did. All these all of this wordage and things to get the vote to come to him. But then, in fact, once he's in office, there was the big thing where they were separating the kids from their parents. I don't think a lot of those kids got uh, met up with their parents to this day, back up with their parents to this day. But understand that that is some rhetoric, but if there's no uh, teeth behind it, that's all it is. It's just rhetoric. Okay. This is a serious matter. Okay, let me see what a view is saying is a serious matter. Okay, drinking game word. Okay, write the drinking game word in because we're on the cusp. We have 4 minutes. I'm putting the poll up. So far, I have for the drinking game word fake news. The American people. I'm gonna see how drunk you guys want to be. Every time you hear this word or phrase, have a drink, uttered by either the moderator or by the candidates. Okay, let me see what you guys. Hey, foot soldier, they're going to use that little girl's death to win their argument on immigration. You mean the college student? I'm not sure the little girl. Are you talking about that college student who was stalked when she went on her job? To be honest, um, the white nationalists believe that all people of color, including black folks, are foreigners and want us gone. Definitely. And they are being more bold in their assertions of hate crimes. They have been on the terror watch list. Uh, I think since Obama been in office, but they have not been treated as such. So the terrorist watch list, you understand, white nationals, but they have not been treated as such. While every other race of people besides them have been had their civil liberties trampled all over. So let's be clear about that. Okay, in my opinion. Hey D Dot. Okay, drinking word or phrase. Uh, one more time. I have the American people, and I need two more drinking word. We're gonna vote on them. Fake news. The American people. I'm gonna put crooked DA because you guys. Hunter Biden maybe should be one because he's gonna try to bring up Hunter Biden at every turn, and the the Republican, hey K-Fit, the Republican media has put out shots that drinking drinking word gang dump Trump. I, I I can't use that one because I doubt if any of them would say that. It's not the words that we say; it's the words that you're going to hear on the debate stage by the moderator or the candidates. So, what word do you think is going to be a good game word that we can drink to every time we hear the moderator or one of the candidates say this word? Uh, do you guys think Biden? Hey, QI Jazz A. Uh, you probably can't make it through because I already feel my blood pressure rising. Oh man. Okay. So we have 1 minute. Let me see what PBS is talking about. Because why are they still talking? Has also, in a way, lowered expectations for Trump by suggesting that he would come out there and perhaps had the debate performance that he had in 2020 in the first debate performance, rather than maybe the one that he had in the second debate. So a tall order for both candidates to clear the expectations their own campaigns have set for the other one.
Thanks for joining our preview of tonight's CNN presidential debate. Up next, PBS simulcast coverage of the big event.
Okay, so yeah, it's about to go down. We still need two suggestions for the drinking game word or tax dollars. Yes, thank you, Carolina Blue. Tax dollars. That's a perfect word. Uh, anything else? Oh, that's the final one. Okay. Um, or you guys can still suggest, and I can take off crooked DA. I got fake news on there, Madam Scorpio. Okay, so I'm gonna set up the poll. Let me make sure I didn't miss any other great drinking game phrases. Uh, I see Carolina Blue wants to get good and toe up. She said, "Put tax dollar on there. I want to be two sheets to the wind by the time, by the time white people are the minority now. They are estimated in. Okay, here we go. Let's go. Okay, let me know if you can hear it well. Okay.
Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer a question and 1 minute each for responses and rebuttals. An additional minute for follow-up, clarification, or response is at the moderator's discretion.
When it's time for a candidate to speak, his microphone will be turned on and his opponent's microphone will be turned off. Should a candidate interrupt when his microphone is muted, he will be difficult to understand for viewers at home. At the end of the debate, each candidate will get 2 minutes for closing statements. There is no studio audience tonight. Pre-written notes, props, or contact with campaign staff are not permitted during the debate. By accepting our invitation to debate, both candidates and their campaigns agreed to accept these rules.
Now, please welcome the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
Folks, how are you? Great to be here. Thank you.
And please welcome the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump. Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern, the economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president and what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach in your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do was try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 50,000 new jobs, and we brought out in a position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come from a household where the kitchen table things weren't able to be met during the month was a problem. The price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination that I was left with in corporate greed is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos, literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for a insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. In a situation and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you. President Trump?
We have the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID. And when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce back jobs, the bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you. President Biden?
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world. And, the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant. And the military, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have any, this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cause countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China. It's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down and then they bounced back. And he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
President Trump, over the last 8 years, under both of your administrations, the national debt soared to record highs. And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt, while so far, President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So, former President Trump, many of the tax cuts that you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before, and we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas right under our feet. We were going to have something that nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We did a lot to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with. We gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration than our administration, and we were right in the middle of it, something which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But he had far more people dying in his administration. Oh, wow. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership. They don't respect the United States anymore. We're like a third world nation between weaponization of his election, trying to go after his political opponent, all of the things he's done. We've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country. And I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, that $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence. And it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people, they cannot believe what happened to the United States of America. We're no longer respected. They don't like us. We give them everything they want, and they think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and they do nothing for us. What this man has done is absolutely criminal.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
This is the first presidential election since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho, despite that state's restrictive ban. Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role in whether or not women have access to abortion pills. They're used in about 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block abortion medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court just approved the abortion bill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it. And if you look at this whole question that you're asking, complex, but not really complex. 51 years ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals, conservatives, everybody wanted it back. Religious leaders. And what I did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result that was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now. And right now, the states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe in the exceptions. I am a person that believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart. But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You got to get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided, supported Roe. And that's this idea that they were all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states, let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in, they talk about that. But here's the deal: there's a lot of young women who are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous, and they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world, considered the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country, and they are raping and killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is now back with the states. The states are voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't. But they would have, everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this is the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President Biden, 7 states, I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. First time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers, by the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere, all over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed three, under his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person come in his administration, killed three American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people, that's simply not true. There was no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed three people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the two greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these three incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and they just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, or we have to get them out fast, because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all. And he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single one. For example, veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right. Thank you so much.
Let's move to the topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned. And so he's got no love lost, but he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine, never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything, no money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president. They attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want and do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish. Kyiv, and he in fact didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done, and they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
President Trump,
I never said that.
For 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the
No, they're
territory
not
in Ukraine?
acceptable. No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
President Biden, you have a minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, by the way, all that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through to the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward, which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. Number one, they're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened in Israel? We're finding that the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so there are 2 different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent $100 billion, or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any, they were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting you got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden, you have a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. You're going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have our strength lies in our alliances as well. It may be a big ocean, but we're ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe? What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. See what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do that, the problem we have is that we spend all the money. So they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States. And they were no cars, they don't want anything that we have, but we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this, I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question, would you guard us against Russia at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time? And I said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied your supporters that day, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say, but she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor in writing turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see, I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day.
Ronnie Q, the video is down. We don't see it no more. Ronnie Q. Y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Did the live end? They snatched us.
I hear you. Let me see if I can get it back up.
Okay, yeah, they snatched us down.
Did that
Oh, they hear me. They hear me. Nah, they hear me. Oh,
I
y'all
hear
hear
you.
me? Oh, okay.
Let me see if I can get it back
Child,
up.
while we sitting here, okay, you getting it? What? Why did they let him go up there like that, y'all? I'm afraid if he say one more thing, he gonna stroke out. He has to take slow. Since this is the only time in my life where I say this man can really talk a word a minute. Take your time, Joe Biden. If you gotta just say fact, no connecting word, none of that. Just say it. This shit is ridiculous. It's
Let
embarrassing.
me see. Let me see if I can.
Miss Toby, I'm trying, but you know, this for the people. I you got Trump up there, orange, lying, just lying. You got it.
Back up.
They took
All
over
right.
Back up.
parts of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing, the unselect committee, which is basically two horrible Republicans that are all gone now out of office, and Democrats, all Democrats, they destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now. And the fact of the matter is, what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, deserves to be convicted. The idea that they didn't kill somebody, just went in and broke down doors, broke the windows, occupied offices, turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots, come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had, first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? Will you denounce the people we're talking about now? Will you denounce the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the select committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir. You want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie, number one. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with, and think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant. I mean, what are you talking about? You have the morals of an alley cat.
Give your minute, sir.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken. Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done, yes. The more they know about what he's done. And there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases down the road coming around. He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you hear any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? You ever hear any presidents say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. People coming out of the woods carrying swastikas on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang when back in Germany. And the young woman got killed. They spoke to the mother, and they asked him, they said, what do you think of those people? The ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones he said, I think they're fine people on both sides. What American president would ever say Nazis coming out of fields carrying torches, singing the same anti-Semitic bile, carrying swastikas were fine people? This is a guy who says Hitler's done some good things. I'd like to know what they are. The good things Hitler's done, that's what he said. This guy has no sense of American democracy.
President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that story has been totally wiped out because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on that. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency is, without question, the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day, it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden.
And debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated, we saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the windows. We saw people occupying his own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top cabinet officers refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time. So why? Why? They know him well. They serve with him. Why are they not endorsing him?
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
Ronnie.
What do you want to add while we go through this commercial break? What stood out to you? Give
The
me a
lie, the lies that Trump told, and as we can see, we're looking. I mean, I don't know if you saw the link I put in the back chat, but we're
yes.
fact checking it live. And this man is lying, but the problem with his lies, his people are gonna believe those lies. He's very convincing, and Biden, I don't know what's going on with Biden at all. I hear what he's trying to say, but he's not delivering the message. Not
Yeah,
tonight.
it's like he's not completing his thoughts. It's like he's just really, really jumbled up. Um, I have somebody in Babs is in back. Babs, is that you? Babs?
Hey,
Hey.
I promise you, I'm just coming up real quick, but him saying that what he said in Charlottesville got debunked is insane. Like, how does a person lie like that?
He said it
It
on,
did.
on
We
live
literally hurt
television.
you.
He said it on live television, and now he's saying that was debunked by any knowledgeable or credible news agency. We heard you say that out of your mouth. Okay. So,
That's
Roman,
all I came up to say, though. Like,
thank
we
you.
literally hurt you. Bye bye.
And
He
he
lied.
said that go ahead.
No, I'm saying he's lying the whole night. Like he's literally taking everything that we know for a fact to be true. I didn't touch no woman. I didn't have sex with a porn star. What are we
I
talking about here? What are you? What are? Did we not? Did we not go through discovery in your most recent case and see like
and
what?
your son has been committed is a committed criminal. Yeah, but you're committed on and you've been found guilty on over what 34 counts in one case, and then the case about assaulting that woman in public. So his son isn't running for office. It's just ludicrous. Okay, you want to go over some of the fact check items that have been debunked at this real time fact checking right
Yeah,
quick for the audience who can't see it.
yeah. I'm gonna touch on the one about the Social Security. So he's up there saying that immigrants are going to be the reason why Social Security is going to run up, and they're going to be the main drivers of Social Security and Social Security benefits. And as we're looking at the fact check, it's literally telling us that the reason Social Security is in a crunch right now has nothing to do with immigration, and it has all to do with the fact that there's not enough people working in the system to contribute to the Social Security fund versus those who are receiving benefits. That's been the biggest issue of immigration of Social Security. It's not immigration, and so I put
And
that
the
there.
tax cuts help contribute to the lack of funding that is going to Social Security. See, this is, and then the part where he said we have freed up so many tax dollars, and they were ready to start bringing back money. Yeah, he didn't tell you that he was talking about money that was hidden offshore, but he never even offered them to bring the money back under reduced taxes so it can get into our coffers to help our
Exactly.
economy. He didn't bring up anything about that. He said they were getting ready to bring it back, but it never came back. And then COVID happened. So all the tax cuts money that I gave them never reached here. Why? Because they spent it on yachts and mansions and
It went
underground.
right back to them. Exactly.
Mhm.
Tax
Okay. So they're back. Okay, we're gonna start it back up now.
And Black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to Black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is, there's more small Black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of Black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number three, providing housing for Black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporate these corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses. And in addition to that, we find that the impact of on the choice that Black families have to make relative to childcare is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce Black childcare costs. I cut them in half. In half. We got to make sure we provide for childcare costs. We got to make sure, because when you provide those child care protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done. But we've done a great deal so far, and I'm not letting up, and they know it.
You have 49 seconds left. What do you say to Black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any Black family, first-time home buyer, should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home so they can get started. I made sure that we're in a situation where all those Black families and those Black individuals who provided had to take out student loans that were ballooning, that if they were engaged in nursing, doctor, and anything having to do with volunteerism, if they paid their bills for 10 years on their student debt, all the rest is forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more for Black families.
Thank you, President Trump.
And he caused the inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right. It's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing Black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the Black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking Black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking Black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back, 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy, absolutely decimated the economy. That's why there was no inflation at the time. There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in all communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered, if the ACA has increased, I made sure that they're $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again, and they're going to try again if they win. We find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing any, we put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity and making sure people have a shot to make it. There's a lot going on, but in inflation, he caused it by his tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels. Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
Well, let me just go back to what he said about the police, how close the police are to him. Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. Almost every police group. And what he's done to the Black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super predators was his name. And he called it to them for 10, and they've taken great offense at it. And now they see it happening. But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically Black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job, great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are Blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the Black population because he's done a horrible job for Black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
You 38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
I don't know where the hell he's been. The idea that anything he said is true. I've passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. In history, we find ourselves, and by the way, black colleges. I came up with $15 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities and colleges, because they don't have the kind of contributors that they have to build these laboratories and the like. Any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. They just don't have the money. But now they'll be able to get those jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, he hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. He out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord. I immediately joined it because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones. It was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it. And it was a disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors. I took care of the seniors. What he's doing is destroying all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody. And look, I have the biggest heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people. But we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
The idea is that we, in fact, we were the only ones of consequence who were not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything if we're not able to, the United States can't get its under control? One of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress, and we're continuing to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people to learn how to deal with climate, just like the Peace Corps. And we're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements of cause of pollution. But the idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate, I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs, one company agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, one, voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way,
so every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now, everybody making under $170,000 pays 6% of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're going to, I'm proposing that everybody, the millionaires pay 1%. So no one I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no, that one enough will keep it solvent. But the biggest thing I'll do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare both times. And that's what. And if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that I believe supports, is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the ACA, as I said, we're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is we're in a situation where we talk about education for Black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants, another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 toward their tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He could look you in the face. About so many other things too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it, because millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden?
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one that acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it, number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world, the reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession, and inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to address this issue, but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
Just to go back, the general got fired because he was no good. And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than him. The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border, that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons, many from mental institutions? Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We're the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world, the finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody, number one. Number two, the idea that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online. 159 or 58, don't hold me the exact number, presidential historians, they've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history. One through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything to deal with child care. He did virtually nothing to child care. We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men or single parents to be able to go back to work. And we should encourage businesses to have.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make childcare more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you. And they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about, he's increased the tariff, he will increase the taxes on middle-class people. I said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I didn't. But this tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming into the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that we're importing. Number two, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised, he's somehow helped the middle class. The middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You had the largest deficit of any president in American history, number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you, President Biden. Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to come, but he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot. And we were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers now? It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low, because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways. But the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl, these big machines that roll over everything that comes across the borders. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all people at the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues, said, "Don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically." No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, this does pertain to it. He ended Remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here. We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage, we always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter, I think a good guy, and he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago, but Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think that just look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look, I've turned around the horrible situation he left me. As I said, 15 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought an awful lot of people. Well, the whole idea of computer chips, we used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and then bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States. And guess what? Those fabs, they call them, to build these chips, Those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I would. The idea that somehow we are this failing country. I never heard a president talk like this before. We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world. We're a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and those who he coddles up to, from Kim Jong Un, we send love letters to, and Putin, etc. They don't want to screw around with us.
Thank you. Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced him. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they've never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, anyway, just take a look at what he says he is and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. And by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
It was a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Hey,
Let's not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
21
turn
Let's not act like children.
to a specific concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. And I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president, because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. The only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because his policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane. These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong Un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III? Let him follow and win, and let Putin say, "Do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want." There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is attack on all. Required response. The idea, I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done, what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when we need it. And right now, we need it. We need it to protect the world because of our own safety is at stake. And again, we want to have a war. Just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. He's not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this? He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia, because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea, if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate, live from Georgia.
Okay, so what do you guys think about this debate thus far? You guys here?
I'm here.
Okay. So, King Roman, thank you, Really BTV, Miss Thang, and I think Miss Toby is up here as well. So, anything that stood out to you in this portion of the debate? I'm going to start with King Roman.
Again, we're gonna say the lies, and the lie that the deflection that stuck out the most for me was this man responded to the opioid crisis by saying, "We got very expensive dogs."
Mhm.
That was his response.
That was crazy. That was, and he had no response to what he was going to do.
What he would do, none of that. Absolutely none of that.
And it's funny that one of the Supreme Court rulings that came down is because Biden wanted them to reject this settlement they had with I forget what family
Yeah.
created the opioid crisis. And
Fanny or something? Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted to settle at over $4 billion, but with this settlement, it would not allow for anyone else who was affected by the crisis to ever sue them. And so Biden didn't think that they should get those protections. So now they have to renegotiate their bankruptcy because he does not want them to be free of being sued by people who have been affected. You got a lot of people who are still currently addicted. Okay, so Miss Thangs, what did you stick out?
Hey, and you do know the Supreme Court ruled today that they can be held personally liable. They can't be shielded behind their corporation, which I think is the first such ruling.
I do too.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Because they're always protected, and they got the high up family. Are you talking about people who probably ain't never been in a laboratory?
Yeah, well, you know, corporations were designed to shield the wealthy from liability from their wealth-making apparatuses. So, it's just, I'm just like, does that mean that this is the end of corporations? I hope it does, but I would just say, first of all, thank you so much for letting me join in. I love talking politics. I'm surprised that Biden is doing so well. I thought Trump was going to whoop his ass. We all know debates are not about like the truth or fact finding. It's a performance. And I'm surprised. I expected Trump to just come up there and roast him, you know.
We're back. No, we're not back. Okay. Hold on one second.
We report the facts.
Really BTB, anything stood out for you? Really BTB?
No, honestly, I don't know.
Nothing?
No, just no. I mean, honestly, no, because I mean, it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. I mean, both of them. Yeah.
No, I was going to ask her. Would you be able to tell us what are the black jobs that are being taken away? Did you hear that? What are they?
I mean, I don't know the difference between a black job and a white job. Like, maybe
we have to ask Nina. Okay, I think we're back. Maybe we have to ask Nina what these black jobs are. Okay, we're back.
Oh, Shade.
We put ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit. Number one, he's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along. It's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credits people have for child care. I'm going to make sure we do something about what we're doing on lead pipes and all the things that are causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do, all he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan. We didn't stop Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell. We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else rioting all over the place. You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like, even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get, when you're terminally ill, now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves, and they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts now on CNN.
Okay, so we're going to do our debate analysis on our own. So there's somebody in the back.
All right, after 90 minutes, that is now the end of the first presidential.
Okay, so we have Baps in the back and who didn't really be TV. I'm going to start with you. Okay, now, what did you think of the portion of the debate that you saw?
Yeah, I was gonna say, full disclosure, I didn't see the full debate. I'm just gonna, I guess my lack of enthusiasm or response is because it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. Like, neither one of these candidates are strong candidates. We know what we're getting from Trump. We know what we're going to get from Biden. I was a little surprised to hear the lack of authority in Biden's voice. Somebody was saying before about debates being a performance. So you definitely heard the weakness in his voice. I'm sure that they're going to put a spin on that tomorrow. I'm sure his people are going to put a spin on why they're going to say he was getting over the flu or something. I don't know. But I mean, I'm not surprised at anything I heard. I mean, Trump is going to be a clown. He's going to tell a bunch of lies. He's going to say it with authority, like he's telling the truth. Biden is going to give, the politician answer. Some of it's going to be factual. Some of it's going to be skewed. But at the end of the day, for me personally, I mean, did it change my mind about anything? No. Did I expect it to? No. Did it really give people a lot of facts? I think if you were listening, I think Biden gave a lot of facts, whether people like what he said or not, or accept what he said or not. And Trump told a bunch of lies. So, I mean, nothing really, I don't know. Maybe I'm not jaded, but all of this is just, I don't know. It's I don't know. It's what I expected.
It's politics.
Yeah, but it's bad politics. But that's where we are as a country right now. Yeah. We're in the midst of bad politics.
Okay. Babs, you want to add in on something? What did you think about the debate and how you feel coming out of this first?
Well, coming into it, the question that I want to answer was about Project 2025. Of course, they didn't actually ask that, which you said they probably wouldn't. So it is what it is, right? Of what they did ask, I was actually somewhat surprised to hear Trump actually say that, we need to let Netanyahu finish the job in Palestine. That I wasn't expecting him to outright say. Biden, I think his strongest moment was when he called Trump a whiner. But overall, I think that his tone of voice is something that, people are going to more so focus on than the substance of what was said. Trump gave very, he lied like he always does. Biden gave some very policy forward answers. He gave factual answers, but that doesn't necessarily matter because politics is theater.
Okay, I was not surprised that Trump would say that they need to finish the job because I played a couple of weeks ago Jared Kushner speaking about how the Palestinian land is beautiful oceanfront property. He spoke on it as in a developer's mindset and like, oh, look at what type of things that you could do with this land. It's oceanfront. You can build fabulous places here. See, because they're greedy and they think about wealth at the top and things. And he said you can push whatever remaining people out into the desolate desert, and they don't care about actual human lives. So, Miss Thing, I'm gonna go to you and then King Roman.
Yeah, it's wild to hear him sit up there and just declare himself a colonizer and admit that he wants to take these people's land. But I mean, Biden's no different. He's been a Zionist for decades. I have speeches of him talking back that even saying if there wasn't an Israel, they would create one. Like he's interested. He's had this Palestinian agenda for decades. One thing, I lost my thought. I'll be quiet. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, King Roman, what do you want to add?
I mean, I just want to be honest on surface value, and I heard everybody looking at this first debate, right? I honestly feel like Biden took the L on this one. Trump was way more convincing in his points, even though we know they were lies, but we know how his base and many other media outlets will take the spin on this. I really do feel like Biden, he struggled when we needed him not to struggle.
Yeah.
We were listening to his points like, okay, I got it. And then he'll fumble right on the specific word or phrase. And it just gave me like, not even that he didn't rehearse, but you can tell that the pressure was on, and maybe he's not comfortable or he hasn't been doing this that often. And I look at the videos we saw over this weekend, folks are saying like they're AI, but there's been times where he just sat there and froze. And I don't want. I'm not gonna. I'm a registered Democrat, and of course I vote based on my values. And I'm not convinced to vote for Trump at all based off this performance. But I will say we definitely took a L tonight. This was low for the candidate of the president of the United States. I mean, I'm like, wow. They could have pre-taped this.
You're breaking up, Roman.
Well, I'm sorry. They could have pre-taped this for all I care.
Now, let's not. I don't know if there are any more scheduled debates or this. Since
it's another one.
It is one.
Yeah, there's one more.
Okay, so great. That's great. Now, let's not. We'd be remiss at how poorly President Obama did in his first debate, and then he came back and knocked the next two out of the park. So, if this was the only debate, and who knows if Trump won't pull out of the next debate because he don't want to take the chance or whatever. So, let's hope that it would be better on the second debate. The notable lies that I found was the about bringing the cost of insulin medication down, which was an obvious lie, about having the most clean air and water after he admitted that he pulled back regulations on businesses, which allowed them to denigrate our air and water with dumping things in rivers and lakes. And he also, Donald Trump, wanted to totally get rid of the environmental protection agency.
Mhm.
So for him to sit up here and say, "Oh, we had the most cleanest air and water," it was just a folly, And also, you have to understand that Obamacare is reaching its term limits, and it's going to have to be uh, reactivated, or it's going to go by the wayside in this next coming election. So it's a lot on the line, and I'm not willing to risk voting for Donald Trump, who has a whole lot of sycophants in Congress who are willing to enact this Project 25 and have no problem in trying to articulate that it is okay if the United States go into martial law to get certain policy agendas enacted within his first days of presidency. So that's how I feel about it.
So
You know,
can I? You can go ahead, Miss Thing.
well, yeah, I just wanted to say like something you said stuck out to me, Ronnie. Sorry, Roman. um, is that yeah, we all know that Biden has got one foot in the grave and he's too old to even use his voice well. But you did raise a good point. He couldn't even like pull up his voice at the end of the speech to make like his most important points. And that is a really big concern for the next debate. Like, it's one thing if you're kind of feeble, but like my granny can raise her voice if she needs to. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's interesting with Biden because he's always had this speech impediment where he stutters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that anybody logical would think that it would get any better with old age, right?
Right.
However, it wasn't just his stutter that was the issue today. He actually literally sounded feeble.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing.
Absolutely. He sounded weak. There was no authority in his voice, like you said, and that's absolutely going to be an issue. And that's why I said they're going to probably come up with something to try to spin it. But
they did that last time. Yeah, they did it. They came with that lie last time. In the first, his first debates, they were saying that he was getting over the flu.
Hold on one second. Okay, he kept trailing off. It was like he couldn't even complete his thought. I have somebody coming up. I want to make sure. Olivia?
It's me.
Hi, hello. Okay.
Hey.
Olivia, what do you want to add to the conversation? Did you watch the full debate, and what are your takeaways?
I did. For me, I think that we know that politics is basic, but when it comes to the American voter, a lot of us anyway, it is kind of like the black church when we're looking at for the performance, we're not so much paying attention to the details. But if you're paying attention to the details in this debate, I heard, a couple of minutes what somebody else was saying. They were talking about his voice isn't loud, he's too old, but his answers was clear and concise. He answered every question. I'm talking about Biden. And if you notice, Trump, he skirted around every issue. He didn't even want to. And did you hear what he said about Israel? Let Netanyahu fight it out. And then he said, how was he going to stop Vladimir Putin from invading Ukraine? That is a civil war between his own people.
They're
how was he
friends,
going to
and
do
he
that?
talked to them. They were friends. He figured that he could just have a conversation and tell them don't do it, and Vladimir Putin would put it down any interest that he had in doing this because they're girlfriends.
Yeah,
they're
and
such good Judies
can we talk about the fact that the reason why this country is in the state it's in right now is because of the pandemic and the way that Donald Trump ran it. He kept telling us for the longest, oh, it's nothing to worry about. It'll blow over in a minute. It kept getting worse and worse. Now, did we forget about the fact that President Barack Obama set up in 2016 a whole pandemic response team? And one of the first things that Donald Trump did when he got in office was get rid of that whole pandemic response team.
Sure did. And he had the coffers filled with supplies for the pandemic. And what did Donald Trump do? He ushered out these supplies to his cronies and donors and things like that until the supplies were totally depleted and not used. And you had people working on the front lines who never got any of these supplies, which were meant for them. So
that's right.
Let's not forget that.
But the point is, and I mean everything you said is valid, Miss Olivia. But the problem is you're coming from the point of view of an informed voter, right? If you're
Mhm.
not the type of person that watches politics and pays attention,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
everybody on this
unfortunate.
panel,
You
yeah,
know
everybody
what? Let me stop you right there real fast because I know where you're going with this, and that's unfortunate. Because let me tell you what they don't want us to know. Let me tell you what they don't want the everyday average American to know. Did you know that when it comes to the Democrats and the Republicans, that the black vote in this election is pivotal? Like black people's votes literally, but stand between freedom and a dictatorship. See, but neither one of the sides want to tell you that, right? Because they don't want to offer us anything, right? But you really have to choose if whether you want to still be under a imperfect constitution or of a dictatorship of Donald Trump. Because remember, he said he want to be king. Now, mind you, if he get out, he get in office one more time, he's not leaving anymore. He didn't want to leave the last time. That's
And
why he
he
didn't want to answer
and,
that question
and
tonight.
like he said, he's running because of something Joe Biden did. No, let's be clear. He's running so he does not have to stand trial.
Yes,
Exactly.
absolutely. Thank
That,
you.
Mhm.
That was so ridiculous.
so that is why that's
Yeah.
exactly why he's running. So
Yeah.
sitting president cannot go on trial in all of this.
Yes.
You know, he didn't have the patience to even show up at the trial of the SA, the Eugene Carroll
Yeah.
lady. So let's be clear. And
That's
I
right.
definitely
Yeah.
agree with Olivia that if this is just my thought process that the way they're doing with this Project 25 thing and his whole attitude and his whole loving Kim Jong Un, Vladimir Putin, all of these people. He said that the last thing he said in his closing arguments that Biden is not respected, and the people must respect
No.
their leader. But see,
Right.
you cannot make people respect. You know, they can endure
You
them.
know, you know why we're not a super. You
They,
know why we're not considered a
let me
superpower
finish.
anymore,
Let me
Ronnie?
finish.
It's
Let me
because of
finish.
Trump. I'm sorry.
Olivia, let
Yeah,
me
you're
finish.
right.
You
You're
can
right.
endure your leader who you didn't vote for, but it doesn't make you have to respect. And see, so he is coming with a whole authoritarian stance on you.
Yep.
The leader must be respected. That was some scary jargon to me. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Olivia.
The thing is, though, he's not respected. The reason why the world doesn't respect us anymore and doesn't consider us a superpower or anything to be feared anymore is because of Donald Trump and his butt kissing around the world. Okay, when he went to meet Kim Jong Un, what he bring him like a cassette tape or a movie tape or something like that, and some other kind of junk, instead of presenting him with any kind of policies or any kind of thing, trying to hold him back from creating more atomic bombs. No, he came to with some videotapes or something. I'm like,
And then
huh?
what he got when he came back? What was the biggest thing that he did? Oh, Kim Jong Un wrote me a letter, kind of like a love letter, and oh,
Right.
I cherish. Yeah, it's just amazing.
I think it's like
Mhm.
important not to be distracted too much by that type of buffoonery and everything. Like at the end of the day, I'm really enjoying the conversation so far because people have been focused on policy. And I had a question about policy, if I can.
Go ahead.
A lot of you guys seem to zoom in, as did I, on the question about the opioid crisis, right? And neither candidate even attempted to answer that question. And I
Well,
know
no,
how.
I disagree. I disagree. Did you hear what Joe Biden said?
Well, I mean, a serious answer, right? A policy based
Well,
answer.
what did you think that was not serious about his answer?
Um,
What would
just
you have? What exactly are you saying?
Well, no, that's exactly my question, right? What is the policy that you would have liked either candidate? Like, if that's what my question was. Like, if neither candidate proposed the solution, what would you guys like a leader to say to that?
Do you realize that we wouldn't even have an opioid crisis in the United States of America right now if it not had been for white Americans, dealing with all these opioids and stuff? I don't remember the crack epidemic being worried about at all when it was
Right?
affecting and destroying our black communities.
I
But
agree. Yeah,
now,
that goes
And
without
now,
that's
saying.
and they only increase drug those penalties. They even increase penalties against rock cocaine as
But
opposed to
not powder. Yeah.
so, what exactly do you want me to say? This epidemic was started by big pharmaceuticals. So,
Right.
this is a corporate problem that they should definitely deal with the corporations. But we know that our politicians have little a small stomach for actually hitting these the wealthiest of the wealthy and big
Yeah,
pharma.
I agree. Well, Roman, were you about to say something? I would love to
No,
hear your thoughts on this.
no, I was gonna say you can go ahead and finish because I
Well,
was.
I personally think that because I'm a leftist, I'm a radical leftist, so I think that they didn't want to
That's
touch it because
unfortunate. So you politic against your own people?
so I believe that neither candidate attempted to answer the question because
I'm sorry, I muted your mic by mistake. Go, say that again.
oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. I was like, oh no, what did I say? Okay. I was like, I think neither candidate answered because they know the only solution is universal health care.
No,
And
ma'am. I disagree. I'm sorry, go ahead, but I disagree.
so that's why I was wondering if you guys would like agree with that or if you thought there's some other solution to the drug epidemic in America.
Can I answer that, Ronnie Q?
Go ahead.
Realistically, what can we do about do what now?
Go ahead, Miss Olivia.
I was just gonna say, realistically, what can we do in this country? Like, you can't, like force somebody to stop taking opioids. Even if Big Pharma stops producing opioids, they have young kids out here making opioids in the basement of their homes. Okay, they're called designer drugs. So realistically, what can you do about the opioid crisis?
Was your answer that there isn't a solution, or were you going to give a solution? Because my question was
the only solution, the only solution that you could do really is hope and pray that at some point in time, these people will stop doing drugs. People have been doing drugs forever in every country. Do y'all remember way back when they used to talk about the cocaine that they used? It used to be a liquid, and they used it for pain, and people got addicted to it. This is way back in the old country prior to the United States of America. There has always been some form of drug addiction in this world. Donald Trump's daddy was a drug dealer and a fucking pimp, for God's sakes. So what do you think Donald Trump is? That is how they garnered their generational wealth. So what do you think?
Hold on 1 second. Corey, is that you?
Yes, it is. Real quick, the chat is requesting
I
that Ms. Bangs turn her mic down significantly.
I turned it down.
Okay.
Go back and give me a number one if it's okay.
Okay.
Is this better? I didn't see it. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So I have a question. Can I ask a question? So I hear what you're saying, Ms. Things. So I guess my question is, what do you think is a solution? What do you think is a policy that either candidate could have enacted that would have been a reasonable answer for you? I guess that's maybe
my answer would just be universal health care.
How was that an answer though, if you don't mind me asking?
How is universal health care a problem?
You think universal health care will address the opioid addiction?
Yeah, I think it would help with all drug addictions. And in the countries where they have universal health care and socialized health care, they have okay, I'm sorry, I feel like I keep starting to answer and then there's an interruption. So which answer? What am I answering right now?
How do you feel that it will help the opioid crisis? Okay, hold on, Olivia. Let her answer. She thinks that universal health care will solve the problem.
So both universal health care and universal housing would help the drug problem because people would be able to get treatment for drug addiction and mental health problems across the board.
Okay,
that seems obvious.
Full stop. You said universal health care. Now you've added universal housing.
Yeah, that would even help even more. Yeah.
Of course. Hold on. Full stop. Okay. I don't think that we should try to create a society that is dependent upon the government for things like their housing. I don't think that we should be wanting to live in America where housing is up to the government. If you look at the breakdown of the black family, the one thing that the government supplying people on welfare housing meant that the black man couldn't be in the home, which was the very start of the breakdown of the black family because it was more dependent on the black man to not be in the home. So
But we're talking about
I
an
don't agree with
opioid
that. I
crisis,
think that
right?
that's a myth.
we can agree.
But I do.
No, that's a fact. That's a
Well,
fact.
I mean, if
We
I
can
can,
agree
Can I
to
rebut
disagree.
before we get too
right,
far?
definitely. That's why I
Yeah.
just said I don't
But
agree with
before
it.
we
Not
get
that
too
it's like
far
a
with the
lie
black
or something.
community,
But
could I rebut before we
can I
get too
please
far into the
respond
black
to?
community?
Wait a minute.
Because are
Olivia
we
was next.
forgetting?
Olivia was next, and then you can
Okay.
respond. Okay.
Are we forgetting that millionaires and billionaires are also addicted to opioids? So what does what the housing and universal health care have to do with combating opioid addiction? Do you see what I'm
Okay, I
saying? For
can answer
years and
that.
years and years before I retired, I was a alcohol and drug counselor as well as I worked in a homeless shelter. Okay, the only way that you can combat drug addiction, alcohol abuse, and things of that nature, when it comes to housing and drug addiction, those are two different entities that you're talking about. Okay,
So
if you don't want to stop
I've
doing
done work
drugs,
with.
it don't
Excuse me,
matter if
Miss
you have.
Thing.
Do not let
Miss
me say.
Thing.
I
Can I finish?
Hold
apologize. I
on.
didn't mean to
Hold on.
interrupt. My
Hold
fault.
on. What we're not gonna do that one at a time, and when she's done, Olivia, go ahead and finish.
All I was gonna say is you can't force anybody to do anything that they want to do. So unless you're gonna line all the alcoholics and the drug addicts up against the wall and shoot them all till you get everyone out of every community, no matter the socioeconomic status, and kind of do a big purge of all the alcoholics and the drug addicts. I don't know whatever else you can do because it's just still a free country, even in Russia where there's not where it's not a free country. Do you know that they have a really, really, really bad drug problem in that country? They have a drug that's worse than fentanyl, and
Yeah.
that country. It's called Cracatilla or
Yeah.
Cracadilla or something like that.
Yeah. I know
It
what you're talking
kills
about.
thousands
Okay.
of people every day in that country. So
Okay,
what?
Miss Olivia. Let's see how she feels that universal health care and universal housing. How does that stop people from actually using drugs?
Okay, so yeah, first of all, you said that you don't want to live in a country where the government is responsible for housing, and I respect that.
I did not say that. No,
I'm
I
ma'am.
said
talking
that.
to you.
I said that.
Okay.
I don't want to live in a country with millions of homeless people. And the thing is, here's the thing, right? Like, I have these views, and I'm happy to share them with you. But if they're like, I don't want to feel like I'm pressing it on you, right? Like I feel like I'm getting told that like I don't want to shoot people on a wall and all this type of stuff. Like I have these ideas, I'm happy to share, but I don't need to either. Like we don't have
You
to
don't
talk
like
about
it.
that.
You don't like. No, we're simply
Hold on.
debating. Can you? Are
Hold
you
on.
saying that you can't handle a debate? Didn't we
Back
just
and
get through
forth.
looking at a debate?
I can
Listen, let
handle
me.
it, but if I'm getting like these hyperbolic kind of statements back, like I didn't say I wanted to
How's it
force anybody
hyperbolic?
to.
Your ideas are
Hold on.
nonsensical.
Hold on. Hold
Unless
on.
you've been on the
Can I
front
say
line
something?
working
Hold
with
on.
these people,
Olivia.
then you don't know what you're talking about.
Ladies, just 1 second. We have some strong opinions and we have some strong voices. No one's trying to beat up on you, but I am a strong voice. I know people may take things a different way. I don't know
Yeah, I
exactly
just feel
how
like it's
old
getting a
you
little hostile. Like I'm happy to
are. Okay.
talk about it, but I don't really
I'm not
understand
Well,
hostile. I'm
why.
just
okay.
passionate.
If it's too hostile for you, you are free to step down at any point.
Yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah.
this is a raucous debate about what we know, and so
Okay, that's fair.
for you to say that you don't feel you want permanent housing to house the mental ill. You do realize that the vast majority of mental ill, they're either homeless or they're housed in jails. And you
Right.
do realize that Ronald Reagan closed down a vast majority of state mental hospitals,
Yeah.
and they have nowhere to go. So
Yes.
do you advocate for housing or do you advocate for mental health facilities and mental health treatment?
I advocate for both. I advocate for a fair tax system so that people who
No. I'm talking about mental health right now. I'm talking about just because you're mentally ill, you think that they should just be on Section 8 housing,
I think
living
that
on their
everybody
own
should have
with a
access to
social
housing.
worker?
Well,
Okay,
the
yes,
goalpost
but
keeps
I
moving. I started
feel,
giving one
but
answer, and then
I, but I am talking about mental health uh treatment,
right.
treatment
A
for mental
moment ago,
health.
I was asked about healthcare and housing, right? And it's kind of moving around every time I say
You're
something.
moving it around because you
No,
included
I've been
the
consistent. I think
mentally
we should have
ill.
universal
We were
healthcare and
ta-
universal
we were
housing.
we were talking about drug treatment, and then you were the
Right.
one who added the mentally ill. So don't get mad when somebody drills
I'm
down
not
on
mad.
what you think about what mental illness and
So
how
again,
mentally
please,
ill
if I
should
can
be
maybe get a
treated.
whole sentence
Wait,
out.
okay, Miss Thing, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to let you down because you
Okay.
keep talking over
Thanks for
me,
having me up.
and that's a no, no.
Okay.
All right. Um, um,
I just wanted to put my own input in on the whole drug thing, if I can, real
hold on
quick.
one second. Informant Sugar, is that you?
How you doing?
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Babs.
With that particular question, the way that I would have wanted the candidates to answer, which is kind of the way that I've heard some Democrats answer before, is that we have less of a focus on punishing people for drug usage and more of a focus on treatment. It doesn't have to be universal health care necessarily. It doesn't necessarily have to be universal housing, but we can focus on actually treating people for their for whatever drug abuse problems that they have rather than just throwing them in a jail. That's it.
But people are focusing.
One
They are
second. One
focusing.
second. 1 second. J Truth, what she did, she kept talking over me, and I'm not gonna allow people to continue to talk over me when I ask them to speak one at a time. So it's unnecessary to continue to talk over other people. So I'm gonna go to Olivia. What did you want to say? Then Grish, and then King Roman, because we haven't heard from him in a while.
I just want to say that in the last couple of years since the Biden administration, there has been more focus on drug rehabilitation, but we are forgetting that no matter what the government provides, no matter how many facilities there are out there, the person still has to want the treatment. Okay, you can't force anybody into drug treatment if you don't want them to if they don't want to have drug treatment. Even if you force them into drug treatment, uh, an hour after they get out of the drug treatment center, they can go buy a drug all over again. You have to want to not do these kind of drugs for your own
Right.
self. The
Yeah, there's
government,
never a one size fits all.
right? And that's all I was trying to say. With the young lady up here before, what she's saying is nonsensical. Because one thing doesn't have anything to do with the other. At the end of the day, whether you have universal health care or not, this is a really not even a socioeconomic issue anymore. Because the opioid epidemic, it affects every socioeconomic status. So that is really not even a debate. It's not even a question at this point in time.
Right.
Yeah, I
Even
want.
if
Well,
you,
hold on 1 second. The queen before you, Olivia talked over Miss Thames, but I digress. And when I pointed it out and I asked Olivia to stop, she did stop. So she caught herself. She did stop. So she didn't continue to just talk over me. So there's that. Okay, Grish, what would you want to add to the conversation?
First, I always say respect to the host, respect to the panel and the chat. Um, I was coming up here to debate Miss Things if she ever want to come back up because I just did a little research and I found out I really don't know what's going on, but Donald Trump is taking his name off of most of his corporations. I mean, he's not on the board of directors. He's not in any capacity where he can make any judgments or anything. He took his name off of his golf club, his Donald Trump Golf Club, the Mar-a-Lago. He's not on the not even on the board of directors. 30 board of directors, but he's not there. So my thing is he preparing for something? Because it's why would he
Well,
do that? And
he was found
uh
guilty in that New York City trial where he has to pay. what? How much he has to pay? All that money. That's why he is trying to
That's what I
divest
was gonna
in
say.
those
Yeah.
companies.
And
Yeah,
also he has
that's
a
just him. That's just him protecting and minimizing. Well, he's in a lot of civil litigation, so all of these judgments, if he takes his name off of everything and he steps down from everything, it minimizes on paper what his assets are and what people can get. That's all that is.
Yeah.
okay, because he also went and got a license, a professional license, like a working person. Two, he's the technician of conditional exempt small quantity generators. So he'll be fixing generators. Now, why is that when he's a billionaire?
There's
He just
another
got the license.
there's another thing that I wanted to talk about as far as what he's doing. Oh my God. I don't know what this generator thing is. Maybe he will. I don't know. I have no
Yeah,
idea
he
what
just went
any
and
of
got a
that is.
professional license to build generators. So I'm
Well,
just trying to understand what's
maybe.
happening with.
Well, he's not allowed to do business in New York City for I think 3 years, or 2 to 3 years. So maybe he's going to start up a
Yeah, I'm looking
generator
right at it,
building
and I just
company
right.
somewhere else in another state. Because let's be real clear. If you don't have a
So,
generator, if you're depending on the regular network power, you may find yourself in a hard shape. I don't understand. I don't think that people really understand that things are really seeming to be about to change right about now. And if you're not doing what you can to ensure your protection, to ensure that you are okay, you're gonna be in a lot of hurt. So maybe that's why. Maybe
yeah, he
the
got the
fact that
license in Florida. So yeah.
maybe that the fact that he's investing in that, he knows that, hey, if I get an office, I'm gonna f up these power grids, and people are gonna be needing generators, and I'm gonna recoup my money. Maybe he knows that, yeah, I'm gonna put my finger on the trigger, and I'm gonna recoup all this money that I lost. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
that, if I was rich and powerful, if I was sitting in a place of power, shoot, who knows? It's not like they tried him for any other well, they did charge him for financial things, but hey, you know why not?
And my
It's
question,
not like he's gonna leave office if he gets back in office anyway. This is my assumption, but go ahead.
the last thing I wanted to say, if anybody wanted to say anything before I continue, I don't want to hog up. Anybody have any statements, anything,
Can
any
I answer?
questions?
I just want to answer a question in the chat. The question somebody just asked was, "How does a convicted felon run for president?" Simple. The Constitution doesn't bar that from happening. There's only certain conditions that you have to meet to run for president, and being a convicted felon isn't one of them.
What is for qualifications, right? You have to be 35.
Right.
You have to be a born
Natural born
citizen.
citizen.
Yeah. You had to have been in the country for at least, what was it, 15 years?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
forgot the other one. But none
I
of
think
them
I,
is
I
about being
think
a
that's it.
convict.
I think that's it. You just have to be a natural born citizen. You have to be over 35, and you have to have lived in the country. So even if you were born in the United States and lived abroad, you have to have moved back into the United States within a certain amount of, I think it is 13 or 15 years. I'm not. I forget. I don't teach government. Um, but yeah. So there's nothing in the Constitution that says that a convicted felon can't run for president. So that's basically it.
There's not even anything saying that if he were to go to prison, that he couldn't necessarily be president there.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it's
that's
just,
our
I mean,
country.
I understand, right? I understand that people don't like it, but and let's be clear, he's not the first felon to run for president. He's just the most high profile felon to run for president. He's not the first felon to run for president.
Okay, King
Right.
Roman News, you want to add anything?
I mean, that was a little explosive. I was trying to answer the question that was originally asked, which is, what do we think about the answer about the healthcare, the opioid crisis, and what do we think about, I think Joe Biden answered the question how in this context I would have wanted, because I separate opioid crisis and I think you said mental health. Because the opioid crisis for me, it should be stuck to big pharma, and that's what he said he did. And I hate when we try to push it back on government, take care of people, and let's just get businesses out the way and let them continue doing what they need to do. No, big pharma, that's in a message to all of them. you better, send a message. So for me, that was a good response. Where you had Trump talking about a damn dog, an expensive
Right.
dog getting the border. Well, if that's what you prefer, okay. And then with universal health care, there's been so many pros and cons with that. And for me, at this point, I'm very divided on universal health care because there's so many inefficiencies with it. It looks good and it sounds good, but you don't account for the differences and the different existing conditions that people have, because the government literally takes over and becomes the insurer for everyone. And now we already have so many inefficiencies. Imagine people who work at Apple, what kind of insurance they have versus folks who work down at the McDonald's. It's like, it's not going to be comparable. So for me, it sounds good, but it's so many studies that have been done to show that while it makes your life happy, it ain't always the easiest route. So that's how I felt about that.
I
Not
think
to mention, it's a country of over 400 million people. Implementing a universal healthcare system
Think about the
with
hospital waiting lines.
what
think
happened?
I
Can I
think that
say
a lot of
something? Oh, well, wait. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to talk over nobody.
I think that a lot of people get universal insurance confused with universal health care. Universal health insurance means that you will be using the doctors and the facilities that are already available. Universal health care, which means that you will be seen at government institutions and facility, and the government would be actually hiring the doctors and all of the people who run these facilities. No one is advocating for universal uh, health. They're advocating for universal health insurance, which means that the doctors are not employed by the government. So that's the biggest thing about that. That people get confused in some instances, or they try to conflate the people who are against universal healthcare try to conflate it and make you seem. Remember, they were saying they're gonna be death panels and they're gonna decide if your senior parent should get these services. See, that's these scare tactics that are built into it to make it seem like it's something that it's not. Germany has had universal health insurance since I believe it's the 1930s, and it works out well for them. It's a lot. United States spends per capita of the richest nations on earth the most money in healthcare, and the United States has the least what am I trying to say? The worst outcomes in healthcare results for the money that they spend, and that's of all the 100 richest developed nations on earth. We're spending that kind of money, and we are getting the lowest outcomes and positive results from the money we spend. So, a lot of people don't know that either.
So can I jump in? I just want to say something. So two things. I did want to kind of get in when we were talking about the opioid crisis, but I'm like King Roman. I just was like, I'm gonna stay out of that. But I think where a lot of us, and I hope the way I'm saying this doesn't offend anybody. But I think where a lot of us get caught up in, I think we get caught up in what we wish could happen, and I think we forget what our government really is and the type of government where we live. A lot of those things sound really, really good, but that is not the foundation of our government here in the United States, whether we like it or not. We don't have the foundation for a socialist platform. So when Obama did propose the Affordable Health Care Act, by the time it went through all of the different chains that it has to go through, it had become so watered down, and they had to make so many deals in order to even get people on both sides of the aisle to vote for it. So when we say, oh yeah, affordable health care, well, they have it in Canada. Well, Canada doesn't have the same form of government we have. They don't have the same foundation. Well, they have it in this country. They have it in that country. But then you have to go back to, what is the constitution of that country? What is the foundation of government in that country? We're not set up for that. So it sounds great. And so when people say, well, I think we should have universal this and we should have universal that, that's a socialist makeup. That's not our country. That's not what our government is built on. So when you look at the three branches of government and you understand how each branch has to answer to the other branch, it's not as easy as it sounds. So the Affordable Health Care Act, by the time it was passed, it was not what Obama had originally written up. It's not what it was originally supposed to look like. So it goes back to what and I'm gonna say this and then I'm gonna shut up. It goes back to what I see people in the chat saying, oh, well, you can run for president, but you can't vote if you're a felon. Again, contrary to popular belief, there are a lot of places in the United States where you can vote as a felon. That is a state by state law. That is not constitutional. That is state by state. You can live in one state, be a convicted felon, and you can have all of your rights to vote. You can live in another state and not have any of those rights to vote. So again, that's not 100% true. And I'm gonna shut up.
I was just wanting to. I was just. I was just wanting to ask. Oh Lord, what is his name? King Roman. Have you ever heard of a book called Medical Apartheid by, I think her name is Harriet Anderson?
No. What is it
Oh,
about?
it's about the the racial inequalities as it pertains to Black people in the healthcare field.
Access disparities. Healthcare
Yeah, I thought I
disparities.
said disparities.
Yeah.
Did I not say disparities?
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
But anyway, the reason why I was asking that question when we're talking about something something like universal health care or universal insurance or whatever you call it, you always, especially in this country, in my opinion, you always have to factor this country's original sin, which is white supremacy racism. Okay, and under that, and everything that happens to us in particular in this country, all falls under the guise of white supremacy racism. So if we can't even get healthcare equality in this country, what makes us think that we're going to get anything like universal healthcare equality or opioid crisis equality or tax equality or housing equality or whatever you want to call it equality?
That's
So you
what I
have to
was
look
saying.
at.
I agree.
Go ahead, Roman. Go ahead, Roman.
I was saying I absolutely agree with you. That's why universal healthcare, or for me, is always like because you're gonna have it. Is there's going to be inequities in it. Period. And we're going to go all the way to the fact that specific doctors who are targeting certain areas, are they the same quality as other doctors in other communities? When you talk about universal healthcare, there's so many factors at play here. So for me, it's just I agree with you, and I'm gonna look at this book, Medical Apartheid. I haven't heard of that. With the health disparities, but
And you
no,
you
go ahead,
also
Rob.
have to understand that even in nursing school and doctors who are in medical school, they teach under certain criterias that Black people will exaggerate pain more, and they've done tests where they tell a doctor who this patient is, what bone that they broke, what symptoms they're having. They'll put a Black name on it, and then they'll put a more white sounding name on it. And in most cases, they will not prescribe the proper advised dosage of pain medication to the Black patient, because they are also taught that Black people exaggerate their pain more and they act as if they are doing worse than they are. And you don't have to look at it just through the prism of white doctors. Let's look at what Dr. Jackie was in trouble with for saying that Black patients tend to exaggerate their symptoms, and girl, ain't nothing wrong with you. She's a Black OBGYN, and she had those exact she said Black women tend to exaggerate their pain more. She just didn't find that out from her studying. No, she had that bias against her own people based upon what she was taught in medical school. So it is real deep. This medical disparity thing, it goes real deep. And this is what they are taught.
Yeah, I was so disappointed in Dr. Jackie when she said that. But I'm about to get down, y'all. It's been a very interesting discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you for
There's
coming
a
up.
Yeah, I'm gonna get down in a few minutes too, because I have to get some stuff. But I do want to recommend a book. Going back to what you just said, Ronnie Q. There's a really good book. I'm looking it up now because I want to give you guys the proper name. But what you just said goes directly. It goes directly back to slavery, and there was a doctor, they called him the father of gynecology, and a lot of his studies were based off of experiments that he did on his black slaves, dealing with gynecology, dealing with all of that. And so for a very long time, it was taught in medical schools because he was considered to be the father of gynecology. And so you're right. It's just been in recent history, like probably within the last, I don't want to exaggerate, maybe 20 years, where a lot of this is being debunked. And I mean, they even had statues that they've had to take down. The book is called Medical Bondage, Race, Gender, and the Origins of American Gynecology. It's a really, really good book. And it goes through the history and it gives you the breakdown of all of that. And so what you said is very valid. So yeah,
J. Marion Sims. Was that the Dr. J. Marion Sims, or is that the author?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, thank you.
I think so. No, it was a guy. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've heard about that, and I heard that he was doing a lot of surgeries and things like that without anesthesia, without any type of pain medication.
Without anesthesia, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And childbirth and all of that. Yeah. Yep.
Yes. Thank you for adding your input. So back to the debate. Okay. So how do you feel coming out of this debate? I feel that I hope Biden does better in the next debate. I hope the next debate does come to fruition. I hope that nobody pulls out of the debate. I saw somebody in the comment section said that one of Biden's aides said he was recovering from a cold and this, that, and the other. So we,
I tell you,
already predicted that was going to happen. So, do you think? Okay, with all being what it is, was your vote change today?
Who you talking to? Somebody particular? Or you just saying
everyone?
No, my vote doesn't change. I mean, when I walk away from this debate, to be honest, I'm very afraid. Walking away from this debate, I'm very afraid because I think that people really just don't get it, and people really just don't understand what's really at issue here. And I understand that Biden is not even a good choice, if I'm being honest, but the alternative is Donald Trump and Project 2025 and the elimination of the Department of Education and all these other things that he wants to do. So I think that a lot of people are going to get caught up in all of those things. They're going to get sidetracked. And unfortunately, I think we're in trouble. So I walk away a little disheartened, to be honest with you.
Now, okay, so do you think that Joe Biden did anything to shore up his black voting the sector of black voters who are disenfranchised with him and who are thinking about going towards the Republican candidate or not voting at all? Did you think he did anything to give them confidence to vote for him another term?
Can I answer that?
Everybody can answer it.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to answer because first let me say I appreciate you letting me come up, Ronnie Q. I don't want to be controversial, but I'm very passionate about this election because, in my opinion, like I really get, I'm sure as a lot of people get what's going on. And the most important thing for me when it comes to this election in particular is the fact that if Donald Trump gets back in office one more time, that we are going into World War III. Now he wants to say that Biden is going to plunge us into World War III. I disagree. I disagree because he is the one that made our country look weak in the first place, in my opinion. And I also think that when it comes to the Constitution of the United States of America and a few dwindling freedoms that we as a country do have, they are going to be diminished even further if Donald Trump is elected the next president because he wants to be the last president. He wants to be a dictator. He wants to be like Putin. He wants to be like Kim Jong Un. He looks up to those types of people, and I think that is just a scary situation to me, in my opinion. And the last thing I want to mention is the fact that I think sometimes that people get too caught up on theatrics. We already know that Joe Biden is old, but we forgetting that he has a whole team behind him. Yeah, he losing his memory, but he all we got right now. As opposed to the freaking Donald Trump, he is a freaking idiot. He is a clown. Okay,
But,
and he's really. I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
I was gonna say he's really nothing more than a puppet master for the true founding fathers of this country, because those founding families still run this country, quiet as it's kept. And also, he wants so desperately to be part of that society that he's willing to pretty much sell us out even further. I think that people should not be so worried about the optics of a thing, as opposed to who looks stronger, or who gives, whose voice is stronger. I mean, Donald Trump, he is cat piss crazy. He knows nothing about politics. He did. And then are older people that are wanting to vote for Donald Trump, are they even realizing that he's wanting to do away with like your Medicare, all types of other benefits that older Americans have poured their monies into this system of Social Security for decades after decades. He's wanting to get rid of that altogether. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was listening. Okay, King Roman News, what do you have to say about that?
I mean, I agree. I mean, who else do we have at this point? Did Trump did anything change my mind on how I'm gonna vote tonight? No, I'm still voting Democratic. The problem here is that yes, it's theatrics is what sells surface people. Like Really B said. Not I think you said it, Really B, or someone said it. Not everyone is savvy. Has education around who they're voting for and the different policies and what's going on. So you got people who look at stuff like this and they're easily persuaded.
Yeah.
So for me, it's not about being persuaded. It's about now I need Biden to execute in his remainder time in office. I don't care what he's
Mhm.
doing. It needs to be told and sold because clearly we know that he can't perform. So his people need to execute. We need to see more stuff. And I mean, we're gonna have to fight a lot harder. Us
Mhm.
people, we got to go out and talk because if here's the other thing, if people are not persuaded by Biden tonight and they don't like Donald Trump, the other alternative is for them not to vote, and we cannot have that.
No, we can't. Because I still
So
say that the black person's vote, the black voters vote is standing in the gap between a democracy and a dictatorship. I still say that, and neither side wants to tell us that because neither side wants to compromise on what the black vote needs to be and what we need to be advocating for our politicians. We got a whole a whole black caucus up in DC that don't advocate for us melanated people in any kind of way. And if there's ever been a time to where they have a chance to advocate, truly advocate for their own people, now would be the time. But nobody wants to talk about that.
and I'm gonna take it one step further, and this may be getting too deep into the political realm, but this is why when stuff like this happens, it reminds us why those local elections matter
Mhm.
so much.
Absolutely do.
Because
Exactly.
once the president gets in office, you know who starts really making the cost? Congress, your local
Yes.
Congress. Mhm.
senators, all of those folks. So we can
Yes.
we can hate Biden, but we don't
Hmm.
let that hate supersede, all the way down
Yes.
to your local politicians. No, go vote
Hmm.
because they will matter. They will continue to matter. Trust me, they do.
Hmm. And
So
then guess what? Guess what, King Roman? I don't want to cut you off, but I'm gonna let you go. But you're right about that. But we have to also hold ourselves accountable because we vote in these local politicians. But after we vote them in, we don't hold them to any type of standard at all. We don't see them anymore. They don't see us anymore till it's time for another election. They come out, go to our churches, give us another good speech, so we can clap and scream and holler, at the high notes. You know what I mean? But then we don't ask anything of them. So we as the voter, especially black voters, we don't hold them accountable. So we hold some accountability when it comes to them doing what they're supposed to do also.
And
That's
also,
what I think.
another thing is like on the our local elections. These are the people who can block, who can help block any type of policies that the president is trying to put through. If we have people who stand together for or against something, they can get things through that or block some type of policies that the president wants to enact. Look at how the Republicans, when they're in office, they are all lockstep and joined in on pushing the Republican agenda through. But sometimes it doesn't even matter when the Democrats are have control of the House. It seems like nobody wants. It really made me sick when the first thing Joe Biden said is that he wanted to work across the aisle and by partisanship. But when Trump got into office, he didn't give a damn about working across the aisle. And the things that he did not have enough vote to pass, he did those executive orders, more executive orders than any other president in history. But that's what kind of makes me sick when you vote these people in the office and then they talking about, oh, we want to work across the aisle. Sure, it would be great, but don't make that your starting point. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. I agree. I just think it's a very tumultuous time in this country right now. I don't think that a lot of people realize how imperative it is to vote. Um, you give your vote to the right person, in my opinion. At this point in time, because we are literally on the verge of World War III here, and you best believe. And then, honestly, even if Trump is reelected, you got people like. Did you hear Donald Trump when he mentioned he wants to let Netanyahu fight it out? Like, why would you
Yes,
continue to want to
because
destabilize the Middle East? Why would you say
because
something
it's
like that?
oceanfront property. Jared Kushner already came out and said that's beautiful oceanfront property. You may as well go on and push them out into the desert. That's why it has already been said. I played that several times on some of my live of him saying that the same Jared Kushner who got $2 billion from the Saudis as soon as Donald Trump got out of office, allegedly to shore up a business that he has no intellectual prowls on. So it's a bunch of BS. It's
Yeah.
about greed and also go ahead, Olivia or
I just
anyone.
said, yeah, I'm agreeing with you. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
You sure
really, B,
agree.
you want to add anything else? Really, B, are you still here?
I'm here. I'll say this and then I'm gonna jump down. I just to piggyback on what King Roman said. I want people to understand that when it's time for local elections, I've worked on elections, and the first thing we do is we sit down and we look at the district, wherever district that this election is taking place in, and when we look at the district, we pull the data, and the data that we look at is who voted in the last election, what neighborhoods voted in the last election, and what is the demographic of those neighborhoods. So if you, when I say you, I'm saying like in general, if your neighborhood is not voting in local elections, then the reality of the situation is, especially in local elections, resources are thin. There's not a lot of money. So they're going to go to the areas, they're going to concentrate their money and their resources in the areas where people vote. So if you're not voting, or your people, your neighborhood, your your neighbors, whoever, if they're not going out and they're not voting, then you guys are not going to get what it is that you're looking for. And like what Miss Olivia said, if the only time that they see your face is at the poll on election day, they have no incentive to come to see you, to follow up with you, to be in the neighborhood, to be in the community, especially if you don't hold them accountable. And I say this all the time on my channel. Like, when is the last time you went to a school board meeting or a local neighborhood meeting, or you went to your city council meeting? Like, we pay a lot of attention to the presidential election, and it is important, but that stuff, a lot of these things trickle up, not trickle down. So we have to be more involved in what's going on in our neighborhood, in our county, in our district, on our state level, because it trickles up. When we see these senators and these Congress people, they came from local elections. They didn't just come out of nowhere. They worked their way up the ladder. So yeah, I'm gonna just say that. I'm gonna leave.
Well, before you leave, who do you think will be his VP candidate? Marco Rubio, what's his name? The black dude, Tim Scott, or I don't
Not going
remember
to
the
be
other
Tim
dude's
Scott.
name. Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be Tim Scott at all. I think the best that Tim Scott could wish for is to be head of a department, be a part of the cabinet. Who do
the head
I
of
think is
hood.
I don't. I'm gonna be honest. I have no idea who he's going to choose. He's probably stupid enough to just try to find a woman, kind of like what.
I was gonna say Nikki Haley.
Yeah, I think he might just, because I think he'll be like, oh well, the Democrats have a woman, I need a woman. Like I think he might be dumb enough to just go find a woman. Now, who it's gonna be, I don't know. But honestly, I really don't know.
Oh, not Sarah Huckabee.
Oh my gosh, not Sarah Huckabee. But you know what? But Sarah Huckabee, that's actually not a crazy thought. I mean, I would hate to see it, but that's not a crazy thought.
You know, and someone right up his alley who's in the middle of a controversy about spending money on a podium when it's alleged that
And
she
let's not forget their history.
went to Paris with this money. So
right, but and let's not forget his history with
she was
Huckabee. They
they
worked together.
Yeah,
they worked together, and she didn't leave on bad terms. So
and then she got the job as the governor of Arkansas when she left.
Exactly.
So, win-win. Everybody's happy.
Ruby said, "I see a black man."
Well, thank you, really, B. I appreciate
Thank you guys.
coming
Thank
up
you
and
to the panel. I'm
participating.
gonna jump down.
Okay. Now, Roman, who do you think? What do you think about the VP pick, or any other thing you want to discuss?
Well, I do think he's gonna do like some unique dynamic, whether it's gonna be a woman or a minority. It's gonna be one of the two. I think he wants that appeal. Plus, I mean, his second election, he has to do something different, right? So, I think this was interesting. I mean, this was definitely one for the books. I don't know if y'all been looking at the reviews. I've been looking at the reviews, and it's interesting because one of the reviews of the tonight's debate.
Okay, give us some information. What have you been saying?
So one of the reviews, they're all talking about how both Biden and Donald Trump agree on tonight's format for CNN, but everybody is saying CNN played Biden tonight. They allow Donald Trump to proceed in questions without answering them, and then repeatedly gave him more time to not answer the question. And then they also said Biden was answering the questions. They inadvertently cut him off.
Yes.
And then they allow, but you'll notice every time they allow Donald Trump to speak and finish his sentence. So they were saying that what was it? Both the hosts tonight, they agreed to, they came there. Dana Bashman, I think her name is.
Dana Bash.
Dana Bash. They were saying that, well, they agreed to these terms. They agreed that they have a minute to answer the question. We can give them an option, another minute to answer the question. After that, they're going to get cut off. When did y'all see Donald Trump cut off at all?
Never. But he was always available.
But they're saying now that, it's funny. They're wondering, like, is there going to be another debate before the general conventions?
Well,
at this point, I don't think Biden needs to do anything, because right now this is just for us. This isn't part of, this is just for us. I don't think they should be doing anything until we get to the convention at this point. That man needs all the practice in the world. And there are folks who are in their 80s who can speak very well, who have learned how to do it. He needs to get around those folks, and they need to sit and
hold on one second. I got somebody coming up. They said that they wanted to give some commentary about what different networks are saying earlier. Hello?
Hey, how you doing, Lonnie?
How you doing? I'm sorry. Go ahead, King Roman.
Oh no, you go ahead.
So no, you were giving us some updates on what you had seen people saying.
So
yeah.
Well,
So
wait a minute.
yeah,
Wait a minute.
guys...
King Roman got the floor. I'm going to come to you next. Okay. Okay.
Well, yeah. I'm sorry, Ronnie. You can go ahead.
No, I wanted you to finish. I was bringing them up. Go ahead and finish on some of the things that you're saying about the debate.
Well, yeah. So that was the one thing that I saw there talking about the format of the show, and they said CNN didn't do them a service tonight at all. And most people are recommended that they don't go forward with that next debate. That they might as well put that on the shelves because it's not going to do the Democrats any service at all if this is the way he's going to carry on. And I keep hearing everybody say that Obama in his first debate, he fumbled the ball, but this isn't Biden's first debate. This is the second. He's going into his second term, so we kind of expected a little bit different. So
And he was a vice president who had to do debates as well.
exactly, this ain't his first time around in this.
Yeah, he's just old. He's really too old, and we all know that. And I think it's unfortunate that he's so old, but he can only do what he can do mentally. You know what I mean? But he does have a whole team working behind him, and I think people tend to forget that when Ronald Reagan was president, he was suffering with what was it,
Dementia.
Alzheimer's,
Yeah,
and
dementia.
pretty much Nancy Reagan and his staff ran the presidency for him because he was too sick to do so. So
Okay.
when you're looking at somebody like a Joe Biden, at least he's able to get up and speak to the people. Now, mind
Okay.
you, very
Hold on a
slowly,
minute.
but
Let me get to I Am Human before they have to leave. I Am Human. What are some of the updates that you are seeing, or is that what you came up here to say?
Yeah. So I know you guys were up here talking. While you were talking, you weren't able to see the feedback from the different roundtables. And I just specifically went to CNN and also MSNBC because I know what Fox News was going to say. So from CNN, the collective on both ends was unanimously that they thought he did not perform to his best. From CNN, some of the things they were saying, Biden over the night became less coherent, more visibly flustered. His voice was very weak. And then one of the person even commented their phone was going off throughout the night in their conversations about we're going to do. People were panicking. They did acknowledge that he did have a cold, but it was not COVID. But they also still everyone was saying that he seemed very weak, and even Van Jones gave him Van Jones was just real about he didn't do it. Biden didn't do what he needed to do. From the MSNBC part, they were saying that Joy Reid said throughout the night, her phone was going off from political operative campaigns operative. The phone never stopped buzzing. Universal reaction somewhere were approaching panicking, very concerned. Biden seemed very feeble and also weak. So
yeah,
that's what they are talking about. Kamala
Exactly.
Harris, go ahead.
No, I was saying that's exactly what I was saying as well. It
yeah,
was a lot of people, and it wasn't trying to like he did bad, but it was like really like this was really not what we expected tonight, but this is what we
mm-mm.
got. So
Yeah,
you can
that's
imagine
unfortunate.
Fox, they're
Yeah,
running with this.
yeah.
Kamala Harris is going to be on MSNBC when you guys get a chance to speak. And also, what's his name? The governor from Newsom from California. He did
Gavin
give a
Newsom.
Yeah, he's always like you need somebody pep. He gave a nice pep talk, and he basically said what you said, Ronnie, just to focus on the substance that Biden put forth. He also said, "How dare we give up on him after one debate or whatever the case may be." But also there is also some rumbling about just like people are saying like maybe we should switch this ticket up before the convention or whatever the case may be. If it were me, I think to put more people at ease because I think that's going to be the impression about we're going to lose. They're going to lose some voters because the Republicans are going to play hard into him being feeble. I don't think they've never had a good answer for that for those who are on the fence, and I think it probably might be a good to have a Kamala and Newsom ticket at this point. So that's my feeling.
Yeah, Newsom is
Yeah, and
definitely
that's
absolutely.
they should have always allowed for somebody to campaign to primary Biden. They just stuck with it and no we're going with this ticket. And see, that's one of the bad things about government as well, because
Yeah.
had they allowed somebody to primary Biden,
Yes.
that probably Gavin Newsom probably would have been
Yes.
at the top of the ticket. But now
Baby
they're trying to
O'Rourke.
figure out a way to fall back to him, but they
Yeah.
just can't hand it to him unless
Yeah.
they make Camilla the front runner and make him the VP choice. But it's just that it's a mess because they want to really do things the way that they did it. It's unfortunate.
I just wish they would have let Biden retire, and they would. I would have loved to see a Gavin Newsom or a Beto O'Rourke run against a Donald Trump. You know what I mean? They need to inject some youth into the Democratic Party, also another thing, in my opinion, Ronnie, that is going against Joe Biden is the fact that Kamala Harris is the vice president. And so that is not making the Anglo voter, feel any better about reelecting Biden simply because of Kamala Harris and her being a woman of color, not a black woman, but a woman of color. And so that's not making them feel any better. And make it so bad. We people are always looking at the physical, the material, the theatrics, and Biden is old and he's wobbly and he's dealing with some mental loss and whatever else he's dealing with, poor thing up there. But they should have let the man go. He didn't want to become the president. That pressured him into being, in my opinion, running for president the first time. What did they think was going to happen the second time? He just should have bowed out gracefully and inject some first fresh blood in the Democratic Party. But they were
I
too
agree.
scared to do that.
I agree. Now, Grish, you've been up here a while. What did you want to add to the conversation?
Okay. So I was just waiting for other people to talk, but what I wanted to say was um, it's just funny to me how um, the Trump company has a patent on voting machines since the 2018. Ivanko had went over to the Chinese government and they granted them trademarks on a brand of voting machines. I know you guys remember that because at a certain time we were begging our president to please close the border because there was a certain thing happening. But he would not do that until February 2019 because he had to wait for his daughter to return with those grants, with those particular grants from the government. What I will also want to say is, wouldn't that be a conflict of interest? And now that he's running again, I'm just trying to understand that. Um, the trademark is for voting machines that are built in China and then will be sold over here.
Okay,
And
I'm
I
gonna say good. One second. Before I interrupt, King Roman News. I see you have to step down. I appreciate you for coming up and having this conversation with us and all the information that you were able to pull on the side. Our roving reporter, give it up for King Roman News. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Me too,
And
Ronnie. I have to go, but thank you for having me, okay?
Okay, thank you, Olivia.
Okay,
Okay, go ahead,
appreciate y'all.
Grish.
Good
I
night.
appreciate you
that
guys.
information is from CNBC, CNBC.com.
Yeah. Oh,
So
okay. Thank you.
it is
So
facts. I
I
just
wrote it
think
down.
that it's a conflict of interest. You know what I'm saying? Knowing that, why is he allowed to run again? When that could be a situation where he could manipulate votes again.
Yeah, I definitely believe that. Okay, Calvin, college, is there anything else that you want to add to the conversation? Any updates on any thing that's going on? Any more observation about the debate that are being dissected?
No, I'm going to peel back and go and try to catch Kamala's response. She probably hit it, but I have a pause. But I want to thank you for the opportunity and thank you for doing this for the beef sector. I didn't know you guys rocked it like this. So I love politics. So thank you again for the
Well,
opportunity. Huh?
thank you for coming up. And yes, I do insert a little bit of
And yeah,
local
yeah.
politics and things like that. And I think it's very important. I think that we need to be on top of it. And I am trying to get a panel together to talk about different type of issues that we need to spread amongst ourselves during this political season to try to invigorate some of our own people to vote. So I'm going to try to get the people together. If you want to come join us, you're more than welcome. If you have ideas, because a lot of people in our sector are into politics, but that is not fair. But I just want to talk about things that are important to me. That's why I have a channel. So you're more than welcome to come over and check me out. I appreciate your support.
I would definitely do. I actually trying to do the same thing for my page. Develop a panel of people or whatever. I understand misunderstood is a resident Republican in there. I'm sorry that she didn't join your panel because she could have been that missing component.
Dissenting voice, yes.
Yeah, and this so yeah, I'm an independent, so as where I'm at, but I'm definitely voting Democratic this year. But yes, whenever I'll be tuned in to find out when it happens, when you're ready to put that together, I'll be glad to take part.
Okay. Now, when you go before you leave, write something in the chat so one of my moderators can share your page. And if the people are here want to subscribe to Calvin's Coolidge, is it Coolidge?
No, it's my name right there. It's under my
Yeah.
name.
So just type something in the chat so my mods can pull your page and drop your link for your page so somebody can join your page. So thank you for coming up.
Thank you. Nice meeting, talking with you, Trish.
I'm not
Gish.
Trish. I'm Ronnie Q.
Yeah, I mean Ron, but it's Gish, right? Is it Gish?
Yeah, that's it.
Grish.
That's it.
Okay.
Grish. I'm sorry, my bad. Sorry. It's another Trish. It's a Trish.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
All right, Grish. Oh, Grish, you left. Okay. Grish, I wasn't done with you, Grish. Come back up and finish. Grish, I was letting him down. I am so sorry, Grish. Were you done, Grish? I thought you weren't done. He called me Trish. I thought he meant shish Trish. Oh, we was about to fight up here. Grish, are you done? Hit the link again and finish what you were saying. I am so sorry. I did not. I was just trying to let him down. So come back up and finish what you started, Grish. Stay focused. Get in order. I'm sorry. Grish hasn't hit the link again. A peace to you, Red Wing Soggy. Grish has not hit the link again, and so he almost got jumped. So that's all I have for you guys today, and I hope you guys. I appreciate you guys for coming out, and I hope you guys. Okay, Choreo Lover, can you drop his link? There he is. I am human first. Can you drop his link, Choreo Lover? And so anybody who's interested to join his page, they can join his page. Okay, so I don't think Grish is coming back up. I appreciate all of you who came out to debate the debate. I missed a lot of comments. I am going to go back through my live to read some of the things that you guys had to say. I really enjoyed you guys being here and conversing, and some of the questions that you guys did put out. And I hope that you guys continue the conversations with some of the people in your. I know you can't talk politics on your job, but some of the people in your lives, to let them know that, hey, this is a very important election, and understand, put the policies that Biden had up against the policies that Trump had, and see which one you want to push. All right, so if you even saw any policy come from Trump, politics. All right, thank you guys for coming out. I thank my mod Spicy Dicey. I thank my mod Choreo Lover. Please subscribe, like, hit the thumbs up button, Cash App, $ Ronnie Q. I thank you guys for coming out. Toodles to all. All right, that's it. Am I going to see you guys in the morning? What's tomorrow? Friday? Yeah, I may as well, end the week on a Friday with you guys. All right. See you guys tomorrow, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right.